Hello everyone, my name is Derek Schweigert and I'll be your instructor for Philosophy 1010, Critical Thinking. So then, what exactly is critical thinking? Let's take a look. Our authors Paul and Elder say, critical thinking is the art of thinking about thinking while thinking to make thinking better. It involves three interwoven phases. It analyzes thinking, it evaluates thinking, and it improves thinking. Now, as you can see, there's quite a lot to unpack here. However, one of the key components of critical thinking is the idea of self-reflection. That is, in order to become a critical thinker, it's absolutely essential that we turn our attention inward by closely and rigorously examining our own thinking. For instance, we can examine our own thinking by asking ourselves a number of different questions. Why do we think the way we do about some particular topic or problem? Could our thinking be misguided or biased in some way? How might we think differently about the topic or problem had our experiences been different? Now, we can ask ourselves these types of questions with respect to pretty much anything that we happen to be thinking about, but let's just consider one specific example to sort of demonstrate how this might look in practice. So think about something like politics, which is one of the most emotionally charged areas that we generally find ourselves thinking about quite often. And most of us self-identify as holding certain kinds of political views. Some of us might consider ourselves conservatives, some liberals, some moderates, or somewhere in between. However, merely by identifying ourselves with a particular political platform, we are in many ways already predisposing ourselves to certain views which may prevent us from fairly evaluating some particular point of view that we happen to be listening to. So for example, here we have Carl the conservative. Now imagine that Carl is about to have a discussion with Lenny the liberal here. Now Carl knows that Lenny is a liberal, and as such he already has a number of preconceptions about Lenny. Thus, it's going to become exceedingly difficult for Carl to listen to Lenny in a fair-minded fashion. However, this is where critical thinking can start to come into play. Now recall the definition that we looked at earlier. And again, notice the emphasis placed on thinking about thinking, or this notion of self-reflection. Carl has the ability to look inward and evaluate his own thinking in such a way that he's able to correct it or see the ways in which it might be mistaken or misguided. So let's say that the conversation ends and Lenny goes away. Carl now asks himself these various questions that we were looking at earlier. For instance, Carl might ask himself, why do I think the way I do about Lenny and the liberals? Perhaps Carl grew up in a very conservative part of the country and had parents who also were very conservative-minded and instilled in him beliefs that were consistent with traditional notions of conservatism. Furthermore, perhaps this resulted in Carl seeking out people like himself who held similar beliefs as him, and as such this would continuously reinforce the idea that he must be right about these particular things. And because his beliefs would be consistently confirmed, it would become exceedingly difficult to recognize the validity of beliefs that might be conflicting with his own personal beliefs. Now this is just one example of a seemingly endless number, but it should start to give you an idea of what we mean when we talk about critical thinking. The primary focus of the course will be placed on this notion of self-reflection, analyzing our thinking, evaluating it, and improving it. Of course, this is no easy task. The authors of our textbook, Paul and Elder, often use the analogy of sports to demonstrate the difficulty here. If we take up tennis, for example, we don't expect to be a great tennis player overnight. Rather, it takes hard work, dedication, and consistency. Critical thinking is no different. We can't expect to become a great thinker overnight. It takes the same type of dedication. Thus, you can think of the course as something like a training regimen compiled of various lessons of the fundamentals of thinking. We will look at things like intellectual virtues and the ways we can cultivate these virtues. We will look at some of the intellectual standards and the way in which these standards interact with some elements of thought. We'll also study how we can become an efficient questioner, including learning various methods that can be used in order to become a critical consumer of the news. As for the general layout of the class, we'll just take a quick look at Blackboard to see how you can access the content of the course. On the side here, you'll notice the sidebar with the course content. This includes the syllabus and the schedule. We'll just take a quick look here at the syllabus. Make sure that you read through this very carefully, as there's really important information in here, including some information about your assignments. For example, Unit 2 assignment, you'll see the general instructions here along with having the assignment template. It's really essential that you pay close attention to this particular document, understand it, print it off if you can, and just take a look. You'll see that the course is basically broken down into 8 distinct units here, 1 through 8. Each unit is essentially going to have a study guide and an assignment or an assessment. Make sure that you read the study guide very carefully, as just like the syllabus, there's important information regarding the content of the course. And as I mentioned before, you'll also be able to access and submit your assignments for each unit here. So that should give you a general idea of what to expect in the class and over the course of the next several weeks. Please let me know if you have any questions. I'm here to help, and I look forward to working with you.